Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action from Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films, streaming delights you care about most. Tonight, we are reviewing and recording the review. I wasn't wrong there, just stumbled a bit. For Enola Holmes, streaming now on Netflix. I was doing so well. Oh my. All right, let me introduce those who are joining me. I am Doc Rotten, and this is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
What's up?
How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
All right. Are you ready to review a little Enola Holmes?
I know. No stranger. I was going to say no stranger things, Sherlock, but then I can't talk either.
English is optional. One of the funny things, Chris, is that when I type this out to do emails and to communicate about the show, and we're going autocorrect every time, change it to Ebola.
You know what? It did the same thing to me when I was posting on Facebook. It was like Enola Holmes, and I was like, that's a whole different movie.
That's a whole different movie. All right. Also joining us is Christopher Slattery. He is the Slattman. How you doing, sir?
Good. Glad to not be alone. Hey. Tying it into the movie.
I don't even know where to go with that. My brain is not that fast. But that's all right. What are we doing here? We are going to review the film Enola Holmes. Now that I said it was Ebola Holmes, I'm going to mess that up all night long. But that's the funny part. Just drink every time I do that. Then we're gonna give our first impressions. We're going to talk about the film a little bit, and then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that because that's where it gets really fun. But the discussion in between is a lot of fun too. So, what is this film? It is Enola Holmes. Almost did it. It came on Netflix September 23rd, directed by Harry Bradbeer. What a great name, Bradbeer. Written by Jack Thorne, based on the novels by Nancy Springer. The cast includes Millie Bobby Brown, Henry Cavill, Sam Claflin, Helena Bonham Carter, Lewis Patridge, and Fiona Shaw. For all you Harry Potter fans out there, might know who that is. When Enola Holmes, Sherlock's teen sister, discovers her mother missing, she sets off to find her, becoming a super sleuth in her own right, as she outwits her famous brother and unravels a dangerous conspiracy around a mysterious young lord. That's actually a pretty accurate description.
Very accurate.
Enter a lot of fun. Just push it right in there, and that's what you get. So, all right, let's dive in. Give our first impressions, and Slattman, you're up first. What is your first impression of Enola Holmes? Almost.
So, I will admit, I did not have the highest of expectations for this movie when I started to watch it.
You did not.
And it exceeded my expectations. It kind of blew my expectations out of the water, actually. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a fun story. I thought the characters were well acted. I thought Superman did a good job with playing Sherlock. I do wish Superman was in it a little bit more, but I know that the focus of the story was supposed to be on Enola and not Sherlock, so I guess there's always room for a sequel.
Always.
And going with sequels, first impressions, if they made a sequel to this movie, I would not be disappointed. I think that is the best first impression I can give.
Oh, I like that, actually. Yes. All right. Up next is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. What is your first impression of Enola Holmes?
Or as I call it, Enola Bueller's Day Off from Finishing School. But, with all the sort of fourth wall breaking of talking to the camera reminded me a lot of Ferris Bueller.
It did. Yeah.
But which to me, I kind of wish maybe parts of it were more just regular narration, because there was just parts where the sort of the talking to the camera got a little bit too winky for me. A little too precious at some point. Because I really think that, you know, the film would be just as good if we didn't have a lot of that. But I can understand that. But yeah, I thought it was a really fun film. It had some really cool production design, you know, because it's a period piece, so there's a lot of really cool stuff they did with CGI and stuff. There's actually you can go on YouTube. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, from like stunt work to special effects. You know, all the train stuff was not on a real train. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think, you know, and then I was kind of wondering about, you know, Henry Cavill. It's like, really, he's going to be Sherlock? And then I was like, now he's just ruined Sherlock for any goofy people out there, because now I've you know, although he does look like he's going to bust out of his suit at some point. I was like, that's a well-tailored suit. You know, I just kept expecting him at some point to, like, you know,
Hulk out.
Someone's screaming for help and he pulls it and the Superman comes out. Or I guess it'd be S for Sherlock. But yeah, it's I really, yeah, I think I was the same with Chris. I kind of wish they'd do a spin-off just of Henry Cavill's Sherlock, because I'd love to see this version of that character, because we've seen a lot of different interesting versions of it, but his, you know, he still had a little bit of a heart to him. He still had that level of coldness, but he was very intelligent, and I think also it just made me realize, wow, I'd also like to see him as James Bond if they ever, you know, whoever they cast for that, despite the rumors. But yeah, I think it's a really fun film. It, you know, it does a great job of tying in a lot of historical type stuff, and that, you know, has some really nice action scenes. I think all the side characters are great. There's a good amount of humor in it as well. I think it's kind of cool that we have this sort of the Millie Bobby Brown playing this sort of stronger female character, you know, who I feel is like an even more sort of kick-ass Nancy Drew in this universe, for those people that get that reference. But yeah, I think it's a fun romp. You know, even the secondary character, the was it Tewksbury or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
The Lord. I mean, he's sort of like the damsel in distress a lot of times, and she's having to save his ass. And so I kind of like that aspect of it. And then just the intelligence of that, you know, and then tying in, you know, that her mom, you know, trained her in all these different elements and of, like, you know, martial arts and, you know, all this stuff that ladies at that time really didn't, you know, they were taught to be basically people's husbands. And then you also, I mean, and even though it's sort of a fun romp, you do have some emotional moments with Millie Bobby Brown. I think she encompasses all those different levels to make this character a really enjoyable character that makes you really look forward to seeing where it goes. I think it's a little bit questionable or weird. I'm still not understanding what involving her mom, the whole whatever she's into, whatever. But I love the way the whole story plays out, you know, and just sort of also how it ties into Sherlock's character, you know, how he realizes that she's, you know, she's much more intelligent than people give her credit for. So yeah, I think this is a really fun film that it doesn't play down to, like, it's not one of those things that it's only for kids. I think it's for both kids and adults, although there's probably adult females and some males who just enjoy Henry Cavill walking around with tight clothing on. But yeah, I think it's a fun film. I think it's a very entertaining film that I wouldn't mind watching again. And it makes, I hope that they make more about this character, which they kind of left it open for that. Just to see, you know, what other mysteries she has to solve.
Yes. Okay, let's go down some nerd roads here. I'm just going to go full on nerd here. You were talking about Henry Cavill being Superman, and you just need the change. If he jumped into a phone booth in old England, he would probably jump into a TARDIS and he'd be gone. But okay, that went weird. But speaking of TARDIS, One of the actors that was on this is Bern Gorman, who you may remember, or at least I remember first from Torchwood, which is a spinoff of Doctor Who. So that's why I did that. I
got you. I've seen like one episode of Torchwood, so
he was Owen in that. But you might remember him, if not from that, he was in Crimson Peak, and he was in the Pacific Rim films. He was the German doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
And he has one line in this movie. He's a badass in this movie, sort of. And he has one line, and at the end, it's like, dude, I guess you didn't have trouble remembering that line, sir. All right, so here's nerdy fact number 3 or 4, wherever I'm on. Now we have Superman as Sherlock Holmes. Doctor Strange has been Sherlock Holmes, and of course, Iron Man has been Sherlock Holmes. So, is Sherlock Holmes secretly a superhero? Maybe. All right. Obviously, from my excitement here, that's going flat. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I was looking forward to it. I thought the trailers made it look fun and light and entertaining, which is exactly what we need right now, right? It's just everything's so heavy on our shoulders right now, and it worked. I actually, Christopher, I loved the fourth wall breaking. I thought that was so much fun. I just liked the way she handled the dialogue for it. It was very rhythmic and bouncy and fun. And then every once in a while she would kind of, look out to the camera and get kind of winky in a way. Sometimes it was a reaction to somebody being incredibly stupid, or the type she's, when she's in the water that one time, she's fighting Bern Gorman's character, and she's in the water and she opens her eyes and smiles. I like that invitation for us to be, hanging out with her in this story in that respect. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. And yeah, I enjoyed this interpretation of Sherlock Holmes, who is not quite the butthole as others, but which is fine. It may be so much so that they are in some legal trouble. And, it's interesting because I didn't know that Sherlock Holmes can only be betrayed. The only type of Sherlock Holmes that can be betrayed is the one that's an asshole, right? The one that if you give him a personality and make him nice, you're actually going against some of the newer novels, which are still copywritten. Is that weird?
Yes.
That's weird. And I know this one's on the fringe and they may get in trouble, but I don't know. I think they did a great job. The like you said, the special effects are subtle but wonderful. You feel you're in the time that they're presenting. There's action oriented effects, like with the train. The train thing on YouTube is really actually pretty interesting. How the green screen was used to make the train, because basically all I had was a side of a car, right? And she's hanging on the car with a fan blowing on her. And it looks like, when they get all done, that she's literally there, right? Getting ready to jump off the train. I like the kid I like this little kid that she hooks up with. I thought that it's not a little kid. I mean, it's a little kid to me. I'm an old man. But this young lord, if you will, I thought their chemistry was really good. And I thought Millie Bobby Brown really, really nailed this. And yes, Slattman, I want to see more too. I think if we got one of these every other year, I think it would be really great for, about 3 or 4 of these, right? I think there's plenty of stories you could tell with her. She's fun. And I think, we saw, basically, I haven't seen Millie Bobby Brown in a lot of things other than like Stranger Things and the Godzilla sequel. And I don't know if she's, what kind of actress she is outside of those, but I thought she was really great here. I thought she really brought a levity to her, a depth to her, because there are moments where, it gets a little heavier, and a lot of chemistry, a lot of, I thought she did great. Wow. what can I say? It was fun. It was great. It was a real fun movie and a good time.
Although I'll say, I hope if they make sequels, they don't like have her like versus Moriarty's son or something. You know, I hope that. I mean, granted, I think it would be nice if she had some specific villain or somebody that would be her antagonist, you know, like, that might be around her age, but
like a unique character instead of redoing the same stories and characters over and over again.
My worry is that they're, I mean, I guess I don't mind it if it maybe intertwines maybe with some of Sherlock's mysteries. But I think as long as they don't try to like make it too cutesy or too like small worldish, you know, to where it's like, oh, you know, she's got to like, I could easily see them maybe doing one where they maybe give Henry Cavill more time, and then there's like a intercutting between him fighting Moriarty and then her fighting like Moriarty's son or something, you know. It's like, I just hope they don't go that level. Huh?
His daughter.
Who, Moriarty's daughter?
Yeah.
Well, don't even tie it into Moriarty. I think she just needs their own. Don't give them ideas, okay? Netflix will run with it if they feel like they can make money off of it. You know, they'll drive it to the ground if they have to. But yeah, I think it would be nice to have that kind of person, you know, that could be the Moriarty, but not.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, I definitely. I mean, I think it would be nice to sort of like, if they do like some bigger mysteries like Sherlock did, you know, like was the Hounds of Baskerville, you know, something that's more stuff that I grew up, like the Hardy Boys or something, you know, where it's more like this might be something like has a supernatural bin that she has to like prove isn't real or something to that effect.
Yeah, that would be great.
Or that would be really fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I grew up on, because there's this shows my age, but there was these books called The Three Investigators that they used to say Alfred Hitchcock Presents, that I read as a kid about these three kids that had like their own little house in this garbage area, and they would go out and solve mysteries of like, people saw this dragon and they would prove it wasn't. It's sort of like the Scooby-Doo, I guess, effect. But yeah, I always wanted to see more of these type of sort of youth action type things, because we don't really have as much of them as we had growing up.
That's true.
Had growing up. So I hope this maybe opens the door for more stuff like this. But I think they did a great job of like telling a story that, you know, to some degree could have easily been, you know, on the same level as like a normal mystery action film, but with a younger lead. And so I think Millie Bobby Brown was the perfect choice for this role.
Yeah, I wonder if they have to have Sherlock Holmes in the sequels to make it work. I mean, is he required for this?
I think I think now, because it's Henry Cavill, there's too many people who salivate over just any, you know, look he makes. There's a blooper reel online too, and you can watch, and there's a part where the little curl of his hair pops down, which is some like Superman or something, and he keeps putting it up, and then someone has to come over and do it, and I just see all these people like, oh my god, change my pants after watching that, like some people do. But yeah, I mean, I think with her being the sister of Sherlock, it might be. I mean, they may do it like a book ending type thing, like they sort of did here, where he's not used as much, because Henry Cavill probably gets paid a whole lot more than Millie Bobby Brown does.
I would imagine. Although, as long as he's part of The Witcher on Netflix.
But I will say,
on a contract of some sort.
I really think they should do a spinoff with Sherlock Mysteries with him. Because I really enjoyed him in that character. There's some really great moments. Just small moments, the small parts he's in. Even his interaction with the guy who plays Mycroft, I think, works really well. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I heard that it was pretty big when it came out. It got a lot of views.
Yes. So
hopefully that'll help push them to like want to make more, you know, of this character's adventures.
I hope so. I liked Sherlock's appearance when he comes back into the inspector's office and he solves a crime.
Yeah.
And
Although
he finds out.
you know that I don't know if it's too spoilery, but by the end of this, he does take her as her ward,
Yeah.
as his ward. So he would have to be part of any future mystery. So maybe she helps solve some of his mysteries. You know,
Could there's plenty of opportunities to go. I mean, they could all kinds of things they could do, and she's as she gets older, they could get into like all kinds of other British things that happen. They got Springfield Jack the Ripper, things like that. There's plenty of.
Well, I'm not sure about Jack the Ripper. That might be a little
too much,
a little too dark when you're killing prostitutes and cutting out parts of them. I'm not sure if that's going to fall into the realm of Nancy Drew type.
They can loosely base something off of it without it being that violent.
And Jackson the Ripper, not Jack, just Jackson.
Jack the Stealer.
Yeah. The Unzipper.
No,
I don't know if that works.
No, people would only want that if it had Henry Cavill involved with that.
They would want that. Slattman, you said, interestingly enough, and I do remember that when I suggested this, you said you actually asked me if I was joking, or maybe you suggested it, and then I said yeah, and you said no, I was joking. You weren't looking forward to this, but yet in the end, it won you over. Is there any? When did you realize that in the movie? Like, was there a time that you were like, wow, I'm actually really enjoying this. This is not.
It was the moment that it kind of clicked for me of, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this, was the moment when she gets off the train and she's standing there and Sherlock and Mycroft are walking towards her, and then they walk right past her.
Yes.
And she like turns around and like gives like a look of just like, did you just what? Like, I was just like, okay, this movie has it's clever. Like
that's
that is
a good way to put it. Yeah.
that is 100% something that like, yeah, that's great storytelling. That like they didn't really need the montage of, oh, they haven't seen me since I was a baby, because you could really like from that just moment just be like, oh, they probably haven't seen her in like 10 plus years since she was like really small. Like, so
yeah,
I don't know. That was the moment that I was just like, that moment had me laughing out loud. And then from there on, I was hooked.
You were hooked. Probably about the same for me. Yeah, that part. I will say, montage rung something in my head, is that I loved the paper cutout introduction and credits at the end.
Yeah,
they were just so funny and delightful.
I didn't actually watch the credits.
Whoops.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all that, but it was just really cute and delightful. Delightful, I think, is a good way to put it. It made me smile.
Yeah, it's always kind of cool when they do like motion graphics that sort of tie into a certain way of animation, or it almost seemed like it seemed like one of those sort of like machines back in the day. I forget what they're called, where it was just like things would pop up, it'd be like those little mechanized machines of that day, like almost like clockwork, where it would make things like open and move and stuff. Yep. And I thought that was a very inventive way, and it was sort of very cute at the end when they had all the different characters pop up when their name popped up. I will say, I also want to point out, I loved, what's the name of the character? Edith, the martial arts.
Yes, more of her.
Oh, yes.
Which I think it's also good when they have a little bit of diversity in the cast, with that specific time period. But you have this one, woman who's sort of like one of Enola's mom's cohorts, with this sort of women's movement or whatever. And she's got that sort of like restaurant or tea place where, with unlawful books, and then they're like doing karate, doing martial arts upstairs. I loved her character because she was another sort of badass female character in this specific universe that I really enjoyed. Hopefully they'll bring her back maybe for a sequel.
So,
oh, I hope. Yeah, I hope she's a part of it.
So speaking of the women's suffrage movement thing that you're talking about, this is kind of spoilery, but I will admit that based on what they set up at the beginning of the movie, like I kind of wish that they had involved like the mother's like plot, like subplot a little bit more. Because I just feel like we got so many like clues, so many drops, so many hints. Like there was one moment where like Mycroft is talking about how like the voting like turnout and all this stuff is just like disgusting and stuff, and it's like that could have easily been tied into like the women's movement and stuff. And I don't know, I felt like they put so much on the table and then they just did nothing with it, and like the mom was just kind of not really a point after the first 30 minutes.
Well, and I think that's the only, if you can call it a subplot, that's the only sort of extraneous element that I was kind of confused about, because, and I'll try not to say anything spoiler, but the whole bomb type thing seemed a little bit of extreme. You know?
So here's the thing: was it really a bomb or was it like fireworks? Because what she was doing when they were experimenting was more fireworks, right?
Well, it was an explosion though.
Well, so are fireworks.
I mean, fireworks are a tiny bomb.
Yeah, it's you call it fireworks, but if you put a bunch of fireworks together, it could almost be a bomb.
I'm pretty sure there was an issue with that in the world like a couple months ago.
There was.
Yeah, they were doing a gender reveal for suffrage, but I guess that would be sort of a gender reveal if you're trying to get votes. That's stupid.
Oh my god!
But I think that's the only thing that I was a little bit confused about.
Yeah, it seemed a little extreme, right?
It seemed a little bit extreme to where they were almost like, I mean, I can understand if you're fighting for a certain thing, but that was like, I was kind of blown off to where I was like, I thought they were gonna like later on they would point out something different or something, and I was like, they never really even dealt with it anymore.
Well, they didn't deal with her enough. I don't think they really dealt with the mother, Helena Bonham Carter's character, quite well enough. That was, I think, the weakest link.
Well, and I think because of the Enola character, sort of like, pardon the pun, diffused the situation that could have happened.
I like that.
I figured you would. It sort of made it sort of like it just kind of knocked that to the wayside to where it was like, I don't know. It's because that wouldn't it be funny if you like had all this preparation for stuff and your daughter comes along, it's like, oh, I did it the easier way.
Yeah. I mean, it is. They basically took the main plot, brushed it aside, and elevated the subplot.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like there could have been a better storyline to sort of to deal with that. You know, why she would leave and do all these things, and I don't think that was a good enough thing to sort of like, you know, for it to feel like it was going to some extreme path. It said, okay, we don't have to worry about that anymore. And to me, that's kind of a waste, especially when you got somebody like Helena Bonham Carter, who's a pretty awesome actress in general. I mean, so yeah, I think that's the only thing that I found as a negative. It didn't feel like, I felt like it would have been okay if it just stayed a mystery what she was doing, and then we find out later in movies, you know, what was going on. But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you know, I think the other things are your mindset is more on the other cool stuff that's happening in the storyline, to where, you know, it's you know, it doesn't work, but at the same time, the other stuff works to sort of overshadow that.
Yeah. One last thing before we wrap up. I also like the grandmother character for the Lord, right?
Tewksbury.
Yeah, Tewksbury.
She's in my favorite scene.
Oh, nice. Do you recognize her? That she's also from Harry Potter?
You know, the whole time I'm like, I've seen this woman from somewhere, and I can't. I mean, this movie is definitely a who's who of different British properties, but she was the one I meant to look online. What exactly character
she was Madame Olympe Maxime.
Oh, the
French lady,
French.
Right?
Okay, yeah, because she's like, well, she's that, and she's a freaking giant.
She was also in Hugo, which we.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's where I was racking my brain. I was like, I feel like I've seen this one before, but I don't know if it's one of these things because there's so many British actors in this. You probably recognize them from everything. But yeah, that as somebody who's a huge Harry Potter fan, I was like, I've seen this one for somewhere, but I can't figure it out. I should have looked for it. So that makes more sense now. Now I see it. Now I can't unsee it.
I know. You can't. But I thought she was delightful too. She was nice, sweet old lady who maybe isn't as sweet as she is. All right, let's do this. Let's wrap it up. We talked more about this than I thought we would. What we do now is we give our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that. But before we do, if you have stuck around this long and you're enjoying this, please subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Hit the bell to be notified for the next one. And if you can, leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know where you think Enola Holmes should go next. Is there a story that maybe you want them to tell? We'd love to hear it. All right, let's do this, guys. Slattman, you're up first. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
This is a really enjoyable movie. It's a shame that it didn't get to release in theaters because I think it's one of those ones that would have done really well in theaters. It's got enough charm and it's got enough I guess adult situations to really bring in like the parents, but at the same time it's got enough to bring in the children as well. It's got enough it reminds me a lot of Pixar films in that way, where the concept is just great for younger audiences, but it's just there's enough in it to keep the adults interested as well. And probably Superman is enough for some, but
probably.
I really enjoyed the performances. I thought that everybody did a good job. I thought that the guy who played Mycroft did a really good job of playing that character that we've seen so many other times, and I thought that was a really standout. Like he was a guy you love to hate,
Mm-hmm.
but you also love still. And then, like we've talked about before, Superman should definitely be in a spinoff of some sort. That would be that'd be really fun to have him just be in another Sherlock movie. I'm never gonna say no to another Sherlock movie. Those are pretty fun. Yeah, all in all, I thought it was fun. We've already kind of talked about my one big gripe, which is there's just the mother subplot. Like, I get it's kind of important for Enola's character to kind of explain where she learned everything from, but I don't know. It's just, I wish they had done more with it, or they had not brought her back at the end and they had ended it with her kind of saying, okay, well, now I got to go find my mom, cliffhanger style. I think that might have worked a little better. All in all, it's really enjoyable. I'm going to give it a solid 4. And my favorite scene is the scene where Enola is in the treehouse, and and she has that conversation with the grandma, and the grandma is like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to fire that lad for letting you have his clothes," and she's like, Enola is like, no, I forced him. I know like what was it, jujitsu?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know. I thought I really liked that scene. I know it's silly, but I loved it.
They got along really well in there, which was kind of, yeah. Well, can't say anything, but yeah. Anyway, all right. Next up is Christopher G. Moore. Give us your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Yeah, Enola Holmes. It's a blast. It's a fun film. That has a lot of sort of like some really good action moments. I think Bernd Gorman, who basically plays like the Bond henchman in this one. I'd love to see him as a Bond henchman. He's a pretty good villain in this. There's even like a Pretty Woman moment when she has to like try to find clothing. And then also there's the running joke with her asking to change clothes with people, but I'm not sure if people would really want to wear a dress in that time period, but it makes for a funny bit throughout it, because, and she's basically doing what, Sherlock is known, I guess. Well, was Sherlock known in the books to wear,
to do disguises and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Hollywood thing.
I don't know if that's an Iron Man thing, or what.
Well, he would do it a lot in earlier films.
Yeah,
but I don't know the source material well enough to remember if he.
But I think but it also makes that funny moment where she's dressed as a widow. You sort of you see like the comedic abilities of Millie Bobby Brown to sort of pull off those moments, as well as the action stuff too, when she's having to do when she's having to fight Linthorm, the Bond villain henchman. So yeah, it's a lot of really fun moments. There's a lot of really good action scenes. We definitely have one of those sort of big Sherlock type reveals at the end. Who's the real villain? Blah blah blah. But it's just an overall fun thing. I think it's a good family film, which there was a lot of people that were railing against why they gave it a PG-13, because I really don't think there's anything in this film that would. I mean, that the rating system is really messed up if they gave. It is. This is not Jurassic Park. I mean, maybe when there's a guy where the guy hits his head or whatever, but there's really nothing. There's really not any. I don't even think there's even language in this. I mean, but I think there's a lot of stuff that would go over the heads of kids that adults will find funny. There's a lot of stuff that kids will find funny just because of the fun stuff. There's some really great use of montage. I think, like we said before, I think one of the biggest missteps is just the side plot involving the mom, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. And then it's thrown away like it was really nothing, So I think they should have worked on that a little bit better. But overall, it's a fun film from beginning to end. I definitely would love to see a Sherlock thing, but now because Henry Cavill is such a beast, Moriarty would have to be like The Rock or something. I'd have to get somebody get the mountain from Game of Thrones to play Moriarty. That would be the only way that you'd be able to.
That work.
Because then Sherlock in this one has wits and biceps. But yeah, it's a fun film. I think it's definitely something I enjoy more films following that character and then other mysteries that she'll solve, probably in the midst of helping Sherlock solve something. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth watching. It's one of the more entertaining things I've seen in a while. As for rating, I'll probably get a 4.25 out of 5. I think if they'd done a little bit better job with the subplot stuff, it would have worked better. But I think the cinematography, production value, it's always hard to pull off period pieces especially if you're making something for Netflix and not like one of these huge budget films. Although I'm sure it probably still had a big budget anyhow. But they did a really great job with the CGI and everything. There were just things that I didn't even realize it was just so much of it was fake. So yeah, it's great. As for favorite scene, without giving anything away, it's more of a moment than a scene. It's towards the end when Sherlock realizes what Enola's done, and he gives this hearty laugh that made me laugh, because you can tell that he was really proud of what she did.
Yes,
and that sort of like small amount of emotion or a little bit of happiness, especially when she's basically figured out stuff that he'd figured out, but got there before he did. And so that moment, I think, was really enjoyable. And I think that's the one that stands out, even though I guess it should be based more on the main Enola character. But I don't know. I really love the Sherlock character in this. I really would love to see, even though I we definitely don't need more stuff for women to drool over. Makes the rest of us seem so much smaller, but what you gonna do? I mean, he's a handsome looking man, so let him do some movies as well.
I can't give him some work. He doesn't have enough.
He needs some help.
That moment, Christopher, might be their $5 million lawsuit moment. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and I'm going to keep this to the quick because we're running out of time. But I recommend it. Go watch this. You've got Netflix. Everybody has Netflix. Go watch it. Have a Netflix party. Everybody watch it together. This is fun. It was delightful. That's the word I've been using all night long. Millie Bobby Brown sincerely impressed me. I've liked her as 11, right? And she was okay in the Godzilla movie. It wasn't anything great, so I wasn't like sure, is it the story? Is it something to do with that, or is this actress got something? And I think she proves here she does have something. She's got a lot of talent. She's got a lot of charisma and a lot of magnetism there to continue growing into becoming a big star. I think, if she isn't now already, but, to continue that, definitely get work as she matures and grows. So it's going to be fun watching that. I'm going to give this a 4.25 as well. And for the same reasons that it can't get higher is the subplot, while having Helena Bonham Carter be the mom was fun. There was always, silly moments and stuff. They kind of, pushed it onto the side, and it wasn't very rewarding because it was such a big part of the beginning of the story, and then it just wasn't all of a sudden. So I felt like that kind of deflated, but at the same time, what took its place was more than enough to keep everything afloat, and I really enjoyed it. My favorite scene, I'm gonna go with the fight scene between her and Bern Gorman outside the docks, right? And it's a long scene. They fight a lot, and she takes a beating and kicks butt and does some really cool things. The specific moment is in the barrel of water, right? The water barrel that he's trying to literally drown her in, which might be part of the PG-13 part. But then she had previously told us that she'd held her breath for so long and stuff, so we knew she was going to be okay. And the wink preceded her getting out of that predicament, and then they go into the the storage place, and then it goes crazy there, and we get the running away from the explosion scene. I always love those, and this one was really good. That happens. It happens in here, and she does a great job with it. So yay! All right. So now it's up to you, audience. Go watch this movie and let us know what you think. Leave some comments down below. That's our review of Enola Holmes. A little longer than usual, but I think it's well worth it. Christopher Slattman, oh my gosh, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always fun.
All right, with that, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.